Hey everybody, it's Dr. Doug Texter. I want to talk to you a little bit this week about grammar. I've asked you to take a look at chapters 19 and 20. I'm going to talk in this video a little bit about sentence fragments and what a sentence is and what a sentence isn't. So at the core, a sentence has to have a complete sentence has to have a subject and a verb, subject and a predicate. I think where confusion happens a lot is when we have dependent clauses. For example, if I said, "When I'm going to the store," and I stopped right there, you might go, "Well, when you go to the store, what?" Well, you don't know. If I said, "When I go to the store, comma, I will get groceries," period, that's a full sentence. You're going to know what I'm doing when I go to the store. So you have to make sure that when you have a dependent clause, it can't stand by itself. After I came home, when I went to the store, when the rain is in Spain. None of these is a complete sentence. They're just a dependent clause. So when you're testing to make sure that you have a full sentence, you should have a subject and a verb. If you have a dependent clause, you have to have an independent clause hooked onto it. When I go to the store, that's the dependent clause. I look for groceries. That is the independent clause. It has both a subject and a verb. Make sure your dependent clauses are not just floating and that they're hooked on to independent clauses. You might want to take a look through chapter 19 and give me an email if you have any questions. Why don't we take a look at one of the exercises at the end of chapter 19. We can take a look at exercise 19.1. So the exercise asks us to repair fragments by attaching it to a nearby sentence or rewriting it as a complete sentence. If a word group is correct, write correct after it. Possible revisions appear in the back of the book. So let's take a look at A. Listening to the CD her sister had sent, Mia was overcome with a mix of emotions. Well, that's a complete sentence. But then, happiness, homesickness, and nostalgia. Is that a sentence? It isn't. It has a capital letter at the beginning and a period at the end, but it's not a sentence. So what do? Listening to the CD her sister had sent, comma, Mia was overcome with a mix of emotions, comma, happiness. Actually, you should have a colon there. A mix of emotions, colon, happiness, homesickness, and nostalgia, period. Now you've got a complete sentence. Let's take a look at one more together. Cortez and his soldiers were astonished when they looked down from the mountains in saw Tenochtitlan, the magnificent capital of the Aztecs. Well, let's take a look at the first construction. Cortez and his soldiers were astonished when they looked down from the mountains and saw Tenochtitlan. We've got all the elements of a sentence here. Cortez and his soldiers, the subject. What did they do? They were astonished when they looked down from the mountains and saw Tenochtitlan. That's complete. But then we have the magnificent capital of the Aztecs. Is that a sentence? It isn't. There's no verb there. So what do? Cortez and his soldiers were astonished when they looked down from the mountains and saw Tenochtitlan, comma, the magnificent capital of the Aztecs. So take a look through the rest of exercise 19.1. You don't have to write anything out, but you might want to go through the exercises. And if you have more questions, you can work through exercise 19.2 on page 287. Contact me via phone or via email with any questions you might have about fragments. Remember this, when you are writing, no matter how good your ideas are, the most important thing to keep in mind are your sentence bound, or the most important things to keep in mind are your sentence boundary issues. Most errors that students make in their writing are forgivable. Everybody makes a typo here and there. Everybody misspells a word. But if we don't know when your sentence ends and where it begins, and what is a complete sentence and what is an incomplete sentence, we're in trouble. That's the kind of stuff that will get you in trouble in terms of grades, and it's also the kind of stuff that will get you in trouble in terms of turning in a resume, turning in a CV, turning in a work project. So make sure you're aware of your sentence boundaries. In the next little grammar video, we'll talk a little bit about run-on sentences. Okay, hope your day is going well. Talk to you in a few.